Anyone who often watches horror movies will definitely find these scenes familiar. A man and a woman walk deep into the woods in the middle of a quiet night. It turns out that the man wants to find a giant bird he once saw before. The woman looks around nervously when a pair of enormous eyes suddenly appears in the darkness. She quickly raises her flashlight and finally realizes that it is a giant griffin, a mysterious creature that people usually believe only exists in Greek mythology. Meanwhile, Mystery Inc. has just successfully solved another case. Velma quickly steps forward to remove the monster's mask and discovers that it is the accountant, just as she is about to explain everything. Her mother suddenly calls her. Because of that, Fred explains the whole situation in her place, and the accountant is taken away by the police. After the call, Velma tells the others that her mother wants her to visit her younger sister Meline at Merlin's Academy of Magic, since there are rumors that a lion-headed bird monster has appeared there. The next morning, Mystery Inc. sets off right away. Before long, they arrive at Merlin's Academy of Magic and finally meet Meline. She greets Mystery Inc. with great excitement, but the moment she sees Shaggy, she suddenly freezes. It seems that she falls for him at first sight. Soon after that, Merlin, who works as both the cook and the butler, appears. He is accompanied by Crystal, his girlfriend, and his former stage assistant. Crystal has the ability to talk to animals, and she introduces Vernon, who is a lion. Scooby-Doo tries to approach Vernon and make friends, but Vernon suddenly startles him. They are then introduced to Merlin's brother named Merlin. After that, Mystery Inc. is invited inside the academy. Merlin explains that Alma used to be the owner of the academy before he bought it, and now she works as the school's head maid. Alma can be rather strict, but she tends to soften her attitude when she sees animals that are able to perform tricks. When Scooby-Doo hears this, he immediately performs a juggling act for her. Even though the performance does not go very smoothly, Alma still agrees to let them stay. At the same time, Calvin, who is known as a powerful vegetable ice cream guru, is working when he suddenly receives a phone call. The caller is Amos, who is the academy's gardener. He informs Calvin that Mystery Inc. has arrived. From the way they talk, it seems clear that the two of them are secretly planning something. Meanwhile, Meline tells Mystery Inc. about the origin of the academy. The person who brought the academy to this place once cast a spell to create a giant griffin on the other side of the land in order to protect it. However, the giant griffin is now locked inside an ancient tower known as the Griffin's Lair. Soon it is time for dinner. Velma finally notices that there are only a few teachers and students left at the academy, and she wonders why the place feels so empty. Crystal explains that most people leave after hearing the frightening rumors about the giant griffin roaming around the school. Seeing that everyone is tense, Merlin performs a short magic show to lighten the mood. However, while they are having dinner, the shadow of the giant griffin suddenly appears. Even though it is only a shadow, it is more than enough to frighten everyone. After the shadow disappears, a strange man shows up. At first, people think he is a ghost, but he turns out to be Amos. He comes to warn everyone about the giant griffin. When the remaining students hear this, they quickly decide to return to their rooms, while Shaggy is still eating. Meline suddenly invites him to follow her to a special place. She urges him to hurry while the moonlight is still bright. Meline then leads Scooby-Doo and Shaggy to the giant griffin's dwelling. There they see a portrait of the person who created it. Meline explains that she brings Shaggy along because she believes he is extremely brave. When Scooby-Doo hears that, he bursts into laughter because this is the first time anyone has ever described Shaggy in that way. While they are talking, the giant griffin suddenly appears. They truly believe that they are finished this time. In the chaos, Scooby-Doo accidentally activates a hidden door, and that door reveals another path they can use to escape. However, the giant griffin quickly realizes what is happening and continues to chase them. They run into the forest, desperately trying to find a way out while avoiding the creature's claws. Back at the academy, the others hear the roar of the giant griffin. When Mystery Inc. sees that their friends are about to be caught, they quickly open the door so all three of them can rush inside. Although everyone is safe for the moment, the fear it leaves behind still lingers. The last few students who remain at the academy finally decide to leave after witnessing the giant griffin with their own eyes. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy also try to take this chance to slip away, but they are quickly caught in the act. Suddenly, Calvin shows up and Crystal explains that in the past he once tried to buy the academy but lost to Merlin at an auction. This time Calvin comes back with the same intention. He tries to persuade Merlin to sell the academy so he can turn it into a seaside restaurant. Even though Merlin warns him about the giant griffin, Calvin refuses to believe in what he calls ridiculous superstition. After saying that, Calvin leaves and reminds Amos to keep watching everything carefully. Fred realizes that this situation could turn into another mystery, so he suggests that Mystery Inc. stay at the academy for a while. Meline and Crystal agree and even offer to teach them a magic course so that they can move around more naturally during the investigation. However, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy treat the lesson like a playground. They cause chaos and almost drag Alma into their trouble. After the rather disastrous magic class, Velma wants to explore the academy further. By accident, she sees Daphne practicing ballet. Daphne confesses that lately Fred has been paying a lot of attention to Crystal, so she feels the need to practice harder. During one of her practice sessions, she accidentally discovers a hidden tunnel. She and Velma walk deeper inside and find an old photo album. When they flip through the pages, they uncover a shocking secret. Calvin and Alma used to be in love. At the same time, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy plan to sneak into the kitchen for more food. Before they even reach the door, they notice a dark shadow that looks exactly like the giant Gryphon. Fear takes over immediately and they run without looking back. Soon they hide inside a strange room filled with puppets. At first the puppets look terrifying, but after a few moments of fooling around, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy actually start having fun. Because they scream too loudly, Alma comes to check on the noise. Shaggy panics when he sees her and accidentally turns on a disco party light. The flashing lights almost blind them, but Crystal arrives just in time to switch it off. Meline explains that this room is his workshop, where he creates performance equipment for the students. He demonstrates a projector that can produce three-dimensional images. Shaggy immediately suggests that the giant Gryphon might be nothing more than a projection. Velma disagrees and points out that a three-dimensional image cannot physically disturb tree branches the way the creature does. Just then Meline rushes in with an exciting discovery. She explains that the founder of the academy once forged a magical spear to control the giant Gryphon, according to an old book. That spear now rests inside his tomb at Shadow Lake. However, the book also reveals something else, that the founder created a banshee as well. Even though the story sounds terrifying, Mystery Inc. decides to investigate. As soon as they cross to the other side of the lake, the banshee begins to follow them silently. The group soon gets lost in the darkness. While they are trying to figure out which direction to take, Fred accidentally falls into a hidden pit. The others rush down to help him and they realize that they have stumbled upon the tomb itself. Inside they find the spear exactly as the book describes. Before they can celebrate, the banshee appears. At first her appearance does not seem overly threatening, but she suddenly transforms into a monstrous creature. The sight forces Mystery Inc. to run for their lives. In their panic, Shaggy pushes the raft forward with all his strength, almost like a living engine. However, he cannot control the speed, and the raft crashes into a large log. Fortunately, they manage to leave Shadow Lake behind, and the banshee does not follow them any further. Just when they believe they are finally safe, the giant Gryphon appears once again. Shaggy grabs the spear and intends to control it, but he quickly realizes that he has no idea how to use it. With no other choice, the group throws firecrackers at the creature. Even after they empty the entire box, the giant Gryphon remains completely unharmed. Not long after that, Mystery Inc. makes it back to the academy. During the chaos of their escape, Meline is suddenly seized by the giant Gryphon right in front of everyone. The creature carries her away before anyone can react. Without hesitation, Mystery Inc. sets out immediately to rescue her. Meline realizes that the giant Gryphon is seriously damaging the academy's reputation, and he feels completely discouraged. The atmosphere turns chaotic, and right at that moment Calvin arrives. He openly offers to pay double or even triple the price to buy the academy. Meline understands very clearly that Calvin is taking advantage of the situation, but he feels that he has no other choice left. Just as he is about to sign the contract, Velma steps in and stops him. She asks Meline to give Mystery Inc. one last chance to uncover the truth. The group decides to investigate the ancient tower, since it is the only place they have not explored yet. However, Mystery Inc. does not expect the banshee to appear there. Just when she is about to catch Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, she suddenly disappears without a trace. Before they can even process what just happened, they hear Meline screaming for help. They follow the sound immediately, but the arm of the giant Gryphon suddenly emerges and forces them to run deeper into the ancient tower. In front of them stands an old and fragile bridge. Even though it looks as if it might collapse at any second, Meline's cries are coming from the other side. Mystery Inc. has no choice but to move forward. When Shaggy sees the giant Gryphon again, he tries to use the spear to control it. Instead, the creature strikes him and sends him flying backward. Fred quickly tells everyone to use firecrackers to attack, but that only makes the giant Gryphon more aggressive. The bridge finally collapses and separates Mystery Inc. into two different sides. Velma quickly tells Scooby-Doo and Shaggy to stay where they are while the others look for another path. However, Meline's screams grow louder and more desperate. So Scooby-Doo and Shaggy decide to rescue her on their own. They soon realize that the spear works like a key that can unlock the ancient tower. Shaggy ends up wearing a knight's armor, and when Meline sees him like that, she becomes even more fascinated by him. Unfortunately, the giant griffin appears right behind them, so Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, and Meline have to escape from the tower as quickly as possible. They tie pieces of cloth together to form a rope and climb down. But the giant griffin refuses to give up. It grabs them and lifts all three of them high into the sky. Meanwhile, Calvin continues to pressure Merlin to sign the contract. With time running out, Merlin finally gives in. However, before he can put his pen on the paper, Velma warns everyone that the giant griffin is attacking again. They rush outside and see the creature dragging Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, and Meline across the sky above the academy. Shaggy decides to try the spear one more time, but once again it does not work. He feels completely lost and does not know what to do next. Suddenly, the giant griffin begins to fly lower and then crashes to the ground. Everyone gathers around it. Crystal wonders why it can no longer fly, and Velma explains the truth. The giant griffin is nothing more than a massive puppet. At that exact moment, a hot air balloon crashes down nearby, and everyone finally realizes that Merlin is behind everything. Velma explains that Merlin uses a fog machine to hide the engine and controls the giant griffin with a handheld device. As for the banshee, she is only a three-dimensional projection. Merlin installs projectors in different locations so that whenever someone accidentally activates the system, the banshee appears and terrifies them. Merlin admits that he does all of this because he is jealous of his younger brother. While he works tirelessly behind the scenes, the audience only praises Merlin. He wants to create a grand performance of his own using giant puppets, but he lacks the money to make it happen. That is why he tries to scare everyone away and force Merlin to sell the academy. Meline asks why the giant griffin suddenly falls. Fred explains that the spear has pierced the hot air balloon, which causes it to lose lift. Velma also reveals that Amos knows the truth all along but chooses to stay silent. When she confronts him directly, he can no longer deny it and admits everything. Calvin explains that Amos tells him the giant griffin is fake, which gives him the confidence to buy the academy. However, his real intention is never to turn the place into a seaside restaurant. He wants to buy it for Alma. Calvin then shares his story from the past. Back then, he was only a poor ice cream seller when he met Alma by chance. They fell deeply in love, but Calvin believed he was not worthy of her, so he left. He promised himself that one day he will become wealthy and return to her. It turns out to be a truly romantic love story. Meanwhile, Merlin does not hold any resentment toward Merlin. He realizes that family matters more than pride, and he forgives his brother. After the truth about the giant griffin spreads, the students return to the academy. This time, Merlin does not perform magic alone anymore. Merlin stands beside him, and the two brothers finally share the stage together.